Good day, class. Welcome to C++ programming. My name is Ifeanyi Anyola. I'll be running through the introductory part of C++. So let's look at introduction. First of all, I would like us to know that C++ is a cross-platform language that can be used to create high-performance applications. When you talk about a language being cross-platform, it means that programs written in that language can run on any platform. And when we mean platform, we mean operating systems. Windows operating system, Android operating system, iOS, Mac operating system, Linux operating system, Unix operating system. So when we say a language is cross-platform, we mean that programs written in that language can run in any of these operating languages, and it has a way of having access to hardwares, and because it has access to hardwares and the basic of the operating system or the kernel of the operating system, it is used to create high performance applications. C++ was developed by Bjorn Strastrup as extension to the C language. The foundation of the C++ language is the C language. So it was Bjorn Strastrup that built or developed C++ language. C++ gives programmers a high-level control over system resources and memory. This is why it can be used to build high-performance applications, because it gives the programmer access to system resources and memories. Then the language was updated 4 major times: in 2011, in 2014, in 2017, and in 2020. So the updates were C++ 11, C++ 14, C++ 17, and C++ 20. So it has been updated 4 major times. Language. So why do we use C++? Why use C++? Is it an outdated language? Is it still of any use? Considering other new languages like Python and Co, C#, Java, is C++ a dead language? No. If you may know, C++ is one of the world's most popular programming languages. It's one of the world's most popular programming languages. C++ can be found in today's operating systems, GUIs, and embedded systems. So many operating systems run on C++. Many graphical user interfaces were designed with C++, and some embedded systems, they run on C++. 2. C++ is an object-oriented programming language which gives a clear structure to programs and allows code to be reused, lowering development costs. As you may know, you said that C++ was built on C. C as a language does not have room or does not have provision for object-oriented programming. So one of the improvements that was done on C that yielded C++ is the object-oriented programming concept that it allows, which gives clear structure to programs and allows code to be reused, lowering development costs. C++ is portable and can be used to develop applications that can be adapted to multiple platforms. We have said it before, it's cross-platform. So it is portable. Applications built on C++ can be adapted on multiple platforms. Though you may not agree with this, C++ is also fun and easy to learn. It is fun. It's easy to learn too. As C++ is close to C, C# and Java, it makes it easy for programmers to switch to C++ or vice versa. If you have learned C, or if you have learned C# or you've learned Java, learning C++ will not be difficult for you because they share similar codes. So if you have also learned C++, it will be easy for you to learn C#. It will also be easy for you to learn Java because their syntax and fundamental constructs, they look alike. Actually, all of them were built on C language. They were all built on C language. The concept, they are all C-based languages. So when you learn one, you've almost learned all, or you've learned other. So let's look at a simple program in C++. Many a times when you write a program with C++, the first line you always see is the #include iostream. Iostream stands for input output stream. This is a file. You know, whenever you see #include, include actually means include. It means that we are including a file, an external file, or what we call a library file, into our code. So this file contains some of the objects that we'll be needing in our program. So when we talk about input-output stream, it contains objects that we need to perform input operation and output operation. So if your program is going to be involving input operation and output operation, you have no choice but to include iostream. That's not the only file you can include in your code, but what you include is dependent on the need. So if you don't have need of any particular file, you don't have need to include it. But because most programs will involve input and output operations, that is why it's almost a standard or a norm to always have #include iostream for input and output operations. So this is why it is always included. Then after that, the next line you will always see is the using namespace standard. Standard is std, what in a simple term this using namespace standard does for us is that it's like a folder. Let me put it that way. It's like a folder where your files are kept. Your standard files are kept, or your standard objects are kept, so that when the compiler is looking for something, is looking for an object, what you are telling the compiler, if you see anything in my code that you don't know where it is coming from, come and look at standard folder. I'm just putting it that way. Come to standard folder, look at it, you will see what you are looking for. So we'll say using namespace standard is always included because it makes our code a bit neater. Because yes, you can do without it, but when you are doing without it, you'll be writing more codes. So when you have it, it makes your code a bit neater and, of course, shorter, if you may put it that way. So it's also always there in many programming or many programs using namespace standard. Observe also, it ended with a semicolon. Why #include iostream does not end with a semicolon? What does that tell you? One rule of C++ is that every statement in C++ ends with a semicolon. So does it now mean that the first line of statement #include iostream is not a statement? Why is it not ending with a semicolon? Wonderful. The truth is that #include iostream is not a C++ statement. Rather, it is what we call a statement meant for the preprocessor. Before your program or during program compilation, the first thing that happens is that the program you have written is passed through what we call a preprocessor. A preprocessor is like somebody that will look at the code, arrange it, and put it in the right format before the compilation can start. So what happens here when you say #include iostream? The content of iostream file will be added to your program, will be added to your code. Maybe you wrote a code of 10 lines, but before these 10 lines of code is getting to the compiler, it might be looking like something like over 100 lines of statement. Where are they coming from? It therefore means that the content of iostream the content, the codes in iostream have been added to your code before compilation can take place. So that is why it is not ending with a semicolon. That's why it's not ending with a semicolon, because it doesn't get to the compiler. This hash include iostream does not get to the compiler. That it doesn't get to the compilation stage. It is meant for what we call the preprocessor, which will arrange your code, add whatever thing is to be added, look for files, find the files wherever they are, and all the rest of them. So this is why it is not ending with a semicolon. However, using namespace standard is actually a C++ statement. Then the next thing you will always see is this guy, int main, open bracket, close bracket, then you see an open brace. Good. Every C++ program must have at least one function. Every C++ program must have at least one function. If it is going to have one function, you don't have choice. The name of that function is main. If your program is going to have at least one function, that function name must be main. So if your program have 10 functions, it means it is main plus 9 other functions. If it is going to be 2 functions that your program will have, it is main and another function. So therefore, every program that will execute will always have main as an important function. Why must main be there? The reason why main must be there is because main is actually the entry point of your program execution. It is the entry point of the program. I will show you some of these things as notes, but I just want to explain it first of all before I'll begin to show you as notes. So the next thing, like I said, is a simple program, cout hello world. Cout is the object that came from iostream. Meaning that if I write this code now and run it without cout, run it without iostream, there will be a problem. I'm going to demonstrate that for us. So we have cout hello world. So what this will do, it will just display hello world on the screen. After that, return 0. Return 0 marks the end of our main function. In fact, every function most times ends with a return statement if that function has a return type. For our main function, the return type is int. That means after executing, it will return an integer value. So that's why we're saying return 0. 0 is integer. So every function rather that has a return type must end with a return statement. Then after that, you close the brace. You see, int main had an opening brace, which is the body of the function, and then this is the closing brace. It's also the body of the function. So let's look at the code now. Let's go and play with the code small. Okay, so this is our code. Hash include iostream using namespace standard, int main cout hello world, return 0, and all that. So let me run this code and see what it gives us. I will now play with it a little. Beautiful. You can see that we are seeing, let me see if I can, is there a way to increase the font size of this? Profile size, font, can make it 20, okay, increase it. Alright, to make it wider now. So it has displayed hello world on the screen. So, and I said that if I write this code without hash include iostream, so I'm going to comment it. Comment is /, and when you comment a particular line of statement, it therefore means that that line of statement is no longer effective. It is no longer seen as part of the code. So I will run this program again and see whether it will work. See whether it is going to work. Of course, you are seeing there's a problem. There's a problem at this point. So we are seeing that the line 7 is showing us a red marker, meaning that the problem that this code is having is coming from that line 7. And what does the error message read? It says cout was not declared in this scope. It also said NL was not declared in this scope. So what are we trying to say? Let me give you this rule of thumb, or in programming, or probably in C++. Whatever you have not declared, you cannot use. Whatever you have not declared, you can't use. So cout, we didn't declare it anywhere, and we are using it. So the compiler is asking, what is cout? What is NL? You didn't tell me what they are. I can't see their meaning anywhere. Remember, I told you that the reason why we include iostream is that they contain objects that were used, or that are used for performing input and output operations. So cout and NL were defined in this file, iostream. But because we did not include iostream, the compiler is looking for cout, is looking for NL, it has gone to standard, it didn't see it anywhere. Why? Because we did not include the file. But when I include the file now and run the program again, it has worked. So to show us that when we say #include iostream, it's not just to fulfill all righteousness. It's actually performing a very great task. The next thing I will comment again is the using namespace standard. I will also run the program again and see where our problem will be coming from. The same line 7 again. What is the error? Cout was not declared in this scope. Including file, including iostream into your program is not sufficient. You have to specify where it is found. The things you have included, where can it be found? So when we didn't say using namespace standard, when we commented it, the compiler is still asking, where can I find cout? I can't see it in my code. I can't see it anywhere declared. I didn't say it as int cout or string cout. I didn't define it anywhere, and yet I'm using it. So it's having issue. It can't find the meaning of cout. It can't also find the meaning of NL. So therefore, we have to say what you cannot find. Whatever you cannot find, go and check the standard namespace. When you check the standard namespace, it must be there. It should be there. If it is not there, therefore, it means I need to define it myself. So I've uncommented it again. I'll run it again. You see, it has worked. So to show us that if you include iostream, you also have to specify where it can be found. Then finally, what if I don't want to use iostream? I mean, I don't want to use namespace. I will have to be doing this standard to tell us that cout is found in standard. Cout is found in standard. I will run it, I will still have error, sharp. Alright, where is the error coming from? The error is telling me that NL is not declared, which is also means NL is also inside standard. So I will also mark it. So I will run the program again. Wow, it has worked. It has worked. So what is the implication? If I'm not going to be putting using namespace standard, it therefore means anytime I will be using any object that came from this iostream, I must put standard behind it. I must put standard behind it. And you can imagine if I have over 100 cout and cin and all the rest of them, that means I'll be putting standard to them, standard to them. It will make the code more cumbersome and less simple. So if you just put using namespace standard in just one line, it takes care of all those for you. It takes care of all those for you because it will search for them in standard namespace. Okay, I'll go back to the notes and just run through the notes, but most of the things I'll be running through are the things I've already tried to explain in these codes. So, we said we've done this before. So the code explained line 1, which is hash include iostream. We said iostream is a header file library that lets you work with input and output of objects such as cout used in line 5, header files, add functionality to your C++ programs. Header files add functionalities to your C++ program. Then line 2, using namespace standard means that we can use names for objects and variables from the standard library. Using namespace standard means that we can use names for objects and variables from the standard library. Okay? Don't worry if you don't understand how hash include and iostream and using namespace standard works. Just think of it as something that always appears in your program. So even if you don't understand it, just know that it will always be there in your program. Just know that it is almost a compulsory part of your program. Then line 3, we just saw a blank line. In C++, blank lines or white spaces are ignored. They will only use it to make the code more readable. So if you see line 1, maybe a line that is empty, it doesn't add any meaning to the language or to the code. It's just for the human beings for it to be readable for the human. So blank line does not really mean anything. Then line 4, another thing that always appears in a C++ program is the int main. This is called a function. Any code inside its curly braces will be executed. So if you know, between the open brace and the closing brace was where we have hello world displayed and the return 0. Then these are just the body of our code. So if you have a function, the code that will be executed by that function are found between the curly braces, open and closed. Then we have cout, pronounced as cout. Is an object used together with the insertion operator. This is insertion operator to output or print text. In our example, it will output hello world. So you see that the cout, the operator, is like the less than sign, less than symbol 2 times. 2 less than symbol is the symbol for cout. Then note, every C++ statement ends with a semicolon. Every C++ program ends with a semicolon. Also note, the body of int main could also be written as this. You know, we wrote it over multiple lines. We wrote them over multiple lines, but it can be written in one line like this. So when you are using multiple lines to write your code, it is not the compiler that you are actually doing it for. It's for the human. As long as the compiler is concerned, the end of a statement is semicolon. So looking at this code now, the compiler will know that there are actually 2 statements here. The one, there is a semicolon after hello world. There is also a semicolon after return 0. So those are the 2 statements. So they can be in one line. Your whole program can be in one line. As long as they are ended with their semicolon, that is what the compiler will use to mark the end of a statement. Then remember, compiler ignores white spaces. However, multiple lines make the code more readable. So the reason why we write our code in multiple lines is for readability. Then line 6, return 0 ends the main function. It's actually a way to tell the operating system that the program ended without an error. 0 means 0 error. So it means that the program ended without any error. is a sign that the program ran successfully. Then line 7, it says do not forget to add the closing curly bracket to actually end the main function. We've said that before. So we have also discussed that in the code, omitting namespace. You say you might see some C++ program that runs without the standard namespace library. The using namespace standard line can be omitted and replaced with standard keyword followed by the double colon operator for some objects. So look at what we are saying. We have done that before in the code. Instead of using namespace standard, you just add standard colon then the object that you want to access. Okay, I think this is where we'll end this introductory class. You have seen a very simple C++ program and the components of a simple C++ program, what they do and why some things are always constant in your program. Thank you so much and remain blessed. Thanks.